Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tending to the Garden podcast. It is our first episode. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's your girl Bree. We are celebrating Black Love Day today, and I cannot be more happy for it. We are Tending to the Garden podcast, where we root for each other and watch it grow. Let's get started. This is my first episode. I am so excited for just launching this podcast in general. My friends, they kind of know what I'm passionate about, but I still keep stuff very private. I only share what's necessary, I think, which is a thing that I kind of have to let go. But for now, I'll just start by introducing myself as well as introducing the podcast and sharing a little bit of my story. My name is Brianna. I tend to go by Bree by most people. I probably will go by Bree. I am 22 years old and I am from Bowie, Maryland. Shout out to PG County and what they do for me and what they do for everybody else who lives in this area. We never come with nothing crazy and we're always here for a good time. I am introducing, finally, a project that is probably about 6 to 8 months in the making. I thought about doing it, but never really stepped out of my zone and decided, you know what, why not do it now in 2021? Because of how hectic 2020 was for me as far as a journey on my mental state of mind. So it's refreshing that I can really get stuff out and really say what I want to say and not have to feel any type of way about it or how I'm going about it, because I feel like this is the proper platform to do it, especially with a topic that I feel like is so strong that we need to talk about as a community. And Tending to the Garden is pretty much a podcast that I've made for young Black entrepreneurs. I don't even want to discriminate it with just young people. Anybody that has a business in the DMV area, whether that's DC, Maryland, or Virginia, I would probably bring onto this podcast and pretty much talk about their story and what got them started in wanting to create their business for their own selves, as well as what 2020 and COVID-19 has done for them as well, and how they will try to make something shake within the new year and beyond. Purpose of this podcast is really for building partnership, for support, and for communication. I feel like those are three important goals that I want to accomplish, as well as that I want to see us put into work this 2021 season with Black businesses and just with Black as a community, as a culture, as a phenomenon that I believe will not just be a phase, that I think will not just be, what it is because we're in quarantine. I want it to be something better than what it is or where it started or where it's finishing. I created this for the simple fact of I saw a lot of the work that Prince George's County has been putting in, and by me using COVID-19 to figure out, what businesses are really out there, because I felt like I was familiar enough with the stuff that I knew as far as living here my entire life, but I never put it into practice of really putting forth the effort to research it, because some stuff I already knew off the back of my hand, but other things I really was just like, wow, do we have this Black on this, or do we have this Black on that? And my mother and some of my other family members, we actually put it into practice by looking into finding a restaurant, a store, a company that was selling stuff that was really Black owned. Not necessarily saying, that takes away, the business of our ethnic counterparts, but it's just like we have to worry about ourselves first, because they've been doing the same thing. They've been worrying about themselves. That's why their dollar circulates more in their community, because they worry about each other. I looked at research and I saw that, the Asian community, they keep the dollar in their business for 28 days, almost a whole month before it goes out to somebody else. The Jewish community keeps it out for about 23 days, which is rounded about 3 weeks, close to a month as well. And in the Caucasian community, they keep it for about 18 days, which is about 2.5 weeks. Guess where we are on this whole spectrum? 6 hours. Compared to the days that these other ethnic demographics have, we only have hours and they have days. that's kind of sad to think about. It's embarrassing. When you think about it, it's embarrassing as hell. And excuse my language, sometimes, I will, slip up and say about a curse word or so, but I won't make it a habit. I try not to make it a habit. We're grown. People have some slip ups, but we're grown. Anything related to business, I want it to be, talked about. I will eventually want to do events, even if COVID-19 is still around. I'll try to keep it as COVID friendly as possible, even if they have to be virtual events. I will try to make transcripts available for people who are hearing impaired. That way they can at least read it in, because I want everybody to be informed. It's gonna be a good time. I wanted to keep it as fresh and new as possible. If you guys know anybody that has a business, that's an entrepreneur in their own way, and when I say that, my definition of an entrepreneur is somebody that wants to make a living off of this and has a niche, has a product that they want to sell to consumers, regardless of how it looks to anybody else. You don't have to have a brick and mortar to come on here. You don't have to have a food truck to come on here. You don't have to have a mobile van with your company's name on it to be on here. I don't think anybody needs to be this typical entrepreneur in order to be called an entrepreneur in their own way, to me. I believe musicians are entrepreneurs in their own way, to me. I believe producers, cooks, hairstylists, beauty as a whole in that industry. I think fashion, anything, if you want to sell it and you have a good platform to do it, and if I see the work that you putting in and I see that you can do better and I want you to do better, you're talking to me, because I want to hear about it. Prince George's County has so much talent flourishing in its community, and I don't know how many people know about that. I don't know how many people know about the people that are gonna be speaking with me. I don't know how many people know about the struggles that it took for them to really step out and do something like this. I don't know how many times they probably wept and were defeated by it, but I want to hear about it because I want to support you about it. I don't want people to just come on here and give me fluff. Don't give me fluff. I want to hear about what your niche is, what drives you, what motivates you to want to do better than what you was doing last week or last month or last year even. I want to know. I want to be a support system for you, so that way you can have yourself tended to in your own way, and I can help you. I wrote the name of this podcast to be Tended to the Garden because that's pretty much where we started. As much as people don't want to think about it in perspective, slavery, we were in a garden. It wasn't a good one. It was one that we were forced to be in. It was one where we had to suffer, but we started there. And I think the community, the black community itself, is a garden. We are full of so many different type of plants, so many different type of seeds that are growing and that are going to flourish. I don't want to say are in the works of. No, you're going to flourish. I want to see you flourish. I want to see you do good. Regardless what anybody else thinks, I want you to do good. The garden that we started in, once we were freed, we had to make a garden of our own, because sometimes the only career we had was to be a sharecropper. We had to grow our own stuff. We had to sell our own stuff. We sold our own stuff to our own people. And people don't realize that we really need to focus in and hone into our people. Everybody else has been doing it for themselves. Why can't we do it for ourselves more? Because back in the day, before we had this desegregation, we had We weren't even allowed to use the water fountain from our ethnic counterparts. We weren't allowed to go into the store. We had to be in separate areas. And if you had a cracked tooth, where were you going? To your black dentist. If you had to get a haircut, where were you going? To the black barbershop. If you had to get a press and curl and sit under the dryer, where were you going? To the black salon. If you needed food, where were you going? To the black corner store. So we were once upon a time, we were really doing stuff for each other in a bigger way than we thought. And now that it's gone, I think I don't want to say we've lost our way, but I think, we need to go back to where we once were. But that doesn't mean we have to leave out our ethnic counterparts, because now everybody is kind of focusing in on everything, but we need to go back to our roots for a minute. And I think that's what we've been doing within 2020. We've been focusing in more on our black businesses, but I don't want it to just be for now that we're all closed in. And I don't want it to be for now while people are still, trying to focus in on the social injustices and trying to get in where we should be as a country. But I want us to be better once we get out, once we're actually able to be in contact with one another, once we're able to hug our fellow brothers and sisters, once we're able to be in the same space without having to wear a mask. Even if we have to, I want us to get back to a place where it was just camaraderie, it was just good vibes, it was just a good time. And it's not always, well, I don't want to buy from this because their price is too high. Well, do you even know why their price is like that? Do you know why their price point is the way it is? I think if we're informed about things like that, which is what I think we should be discussing in this podcast, about why business is business, regardless if it's black, white, green, purple, I think we need to be informed on why business is business. And then now with this, once we get that information, we'll focus in on why black business is treated like black business has been treated. Like, it's kind of sad to think about it. That's why I'm kind of talking slow a little bit. I apologize, but I'm really trying to wrap my head around it while still trying to explain this to you without it getting overwhelming in my head. But I'll talk deeper into that once we get more into the episodes, once we get more guests on our show, because I want to just get different POVs as well. And I want people to know what they're thinking as well. I don't want to be the only person on here just talking. I don't want to be the only person on here just giving you information and nothing else to show for it. I want people to come on here and inform y'all. I want people to tell you stuff that they wish they heard when they first started. I want people to be supporting. I want the goals to be there. I want us to build partnership. I want us to be able to talk to one another. I want us to be able to collaborate and create events, because with these events, I want it to be pop-ups. I want it to be panel discussions. I want it to be any and everything black that we can do to sustain ourselves, to keep being informed, to keep creating that camaraderie that we lost some years ago. I want it to stay that way. And I don't know who else does, but I'm gonna be a part of it regardless. I want us to be able to support. I want us to be able to do charity. I want us to be able to be in the community once we're able to get there safely. But for now, we're just going to talk. We're going to talk. We're going to be informed. And we're going to celebrate. Because anybody that comes on here, we celebrating them because they really created something out of nothing. And they're continuing to create stuff that they have now. And in the future, just saying it right now, I want to thank everybody that's going to be coming on here. I want to thank everybody that's going to be listening on here. I want to thank anybody that has a question that they want to bring to me. I want anybody I want to thank anybody that nominated somebody to want to come on here and talk. I thank it. I thank y'all wholeheartedly before y'all even know me, before y'all even know my story. For people that don't know me, I want to just thank you. Like, I really want to thank you. And a little bit about myself. I am in college. I am studying business management with a minor in business communications. I'm currently at Anne Arundel Community College, but I will be transferring to a 4-year university deeper into 2021 so I can acquire my bachelor's degree, because eventually I want to start my own business as well. So I don't want to say I'm doing this selfishly with this podcast, but I am creating this podcast so I can be informed, so I can learn as well, so I can share with y'all what I've learned as well. I don't want anybody to not get any of these gems that these people are going to be sharing. I don't want anything to be done in secret. I want everybody to know. Y'all can listen on whoever, but the first and foremost thing I want to say about these house rules on this podcast: nobody's gonna be disrespected. I don't care how you feel about that person. If you know this person, they have a business, they have a reputation to uphold, they are coming on here sharing important things that matter to them. So what anybody will not be doing is reaching out to me, disrespecting a fellow brother or sister that has a business. Because I'm sorry, if you want to catch the smoke with them, you probably gonna catch the smoke with me, because I'm coming behind everybody that has something rude to say about them. If you don't think it's a business in your own mind, then don't listen to them. You know, I don't want anybody on here feeling like they have to, silence or censor themselves because you don't think somebody's gonna think you're an entrepreneur. Says who? This is my podcast. I think you're an entrepreneur, but there's no disrespect on here. There will be no disrespect. I promise you, there will be no disrespect. Because if you don't want to listen, you don't gotta listen. People are gonna come on here and listen, because I think that this is something that that Prince George's County, not even Prince George's County, just Black community as a whole would thoroughly enjoy, because this is something that really means a lot to me, and it means a lot to these business owners, and it means a lot to the listeners they're following. I want people to be able to be like, wow, they really did that on here. I don't want nobody to feel like they're being shamed or they're being discredited or devalued because their business is not like somebody else's business. Everybody's business ain't the same business. And you know what? You disrespecting somebody else, that's bad for your business, little mama. And that's that. Don't mean to go so hard the way I did, but I want to protect people that I feel like will protect me, because this is a business I'm running. I didn't think of it like that at the time when I decided to do this, but it is. A little bit about myself. I graduated from high school. Actually, I went to a private Christian school, and I graduated in 2016. And I started out with my academic career at Morgan State University, and I went in there actually going as a computer science major, not even wanting to do it. I just went and picked a major because it made a lot of money, and it seemed like it was a cool thing to do, to be programming and stuff. But the deeper I read into it, the deeper I was not interested. So when I went and finished my summer program that I was in at Morgan State University, I actually changed my major to multi-platform production, I did that because I felt like messages could easily be put across with platforms like that, like different mediums can give different messages, and sometimes they can give the same message, and I felt that was so powerful that sometimes you don't even have to say words for somebody to understand the purpose of the video, or to understand the purpose of why it's being created. So I felt like I could make a difference if I did that, and I went for it, and I was excited about what I was learning. But the only problem was, when I was in my summer program, A month after I had graduated high school, my grandfather had passed away. And my mother actually came to school and told me. And my whole world had shaped and it had changed as soon as I got the news. I was so silent. I don't think I had ever been so quiet in my life when I heard them news. It definitely shaped me into a different person because I really didn't realize he was just going to leave like that. Not saying that, he wanted to leave right then and there, but the Lord wanted his son home. And not even 6 months later after that, my godmother actually passed away as well. And once again, it was another testimony that I had to share once I was ready to share it, of course. But my academics definitely took a toll on me because dealing with death like that, because I had never dealt with death so close to myself like that, besides like other family members that I had talked to every now and again. But with these people, they really shaped and molded me. I was around them. I was so much around them to the point that I had lived with both of them at one point in time. Like, they meant a lot to me. Let's just keep it real simple. They meant the world to me, honestly. If it wasn't for my grandfather, I wouldn't probably have my love for music the way I have my love for music. If it wasn't for my godmother, I probably wouldn't be able to know how to just love simply without doing too much. She loved me without even having to say too much. After a while, when she first got sick, she couldn't even speak anymore because she had a stroke that pretty much took away her voice box. So all I had to rely on was just looking at her. They taught me how to just be silent and be still and hone on to the things that I think about in my mind rather than the stuff I do physically. Yeah, sorry y'all. Give me a second. So once I finished my first semester there, my GPA was so bad. It was so terrible. It wasn't even worthy enough to meet a 2.0. And I had to tell my mother. And my mother, she found out anyway, because of course they send you those emails when the government, gives you this money to make something of it. And I did not do anything with that money. I honestly wasted it. If we're going to talk about it, I wasted that money. That entire freshman year of Morgan State University, I wasted that money because I was so gone emotionally that I couldn't even bring myself back to focusing on the academics, even though I tried to push myself, but it just was not working. So I lost my housing my freshman year of college, and people asked why I wasn't living on campus anymore, and I just told them, I didn't send in my application on time. So I just wasn't able to get a room. I lied. I'm not going to sit here and say I was proud of it, but I lied because I just was embarrassed. It wasn't even shame. It was just pure embarrassment because I never told anybody how bad I was feeling or how bad I was doing, because I just tried to keep it all together because I saw everybody else keeping it together. Even though I heard people were struggling, but they didn't hear how bad I was struggling. And I've always been a private person, so I never felt like I was able to trust enough to say how bad I was doing and to say how much I needed help. So I forego the help to just keep myself above water, because I felt like if I had shared anything, I was probably going to break down and cry any chance I got. I didn't want anybody to see me at my weakest point. I didn't want anybody to know that I was as weak as I was. I wanted anybody to know that, you can have a good day or you can have a bad day. But honestly, there were days that were so bad, I just had to cry myself to sleep. I didn't even want to tell my mother how bad it was. And honestly, that's the first time I said it out loud. And this is the first time she probably will ever hear that. But I'm okay to speak in my truth about it now. So it's no trip for me. I'll take it with a grain of salt now. I'll say it was a learning lesson that it's okay to talk about needing help. It's okay to say that you need help. And so dealing with that, my academics declined, and it was so bad that I had to start driving to school. So my sophomore year of my first semester of my sophomore year, I had to drive from Bowie to Baltimore 3 times a week, there and back, so I could go and get my education because I was out of housing. And balancing out working and going to school full time was just something I couldn't do, and I thought it was because I was traveling 45 minutes 3 times a week there and back. But instead, it was not because of that. It was because of my mental, and I didn't take it into consideration because I was just throwing myself into work thinking that it was just going to heal everything, but it did not. So I decided that I just was going to stay closer to home. So I talked to my mother, and we transferred myself out of Morgan State University into Anne Arundel Community College, and that's where I am at now. But I just recently started coming back about during 2020 because I was working 2-3 jobs at a time while being a full-time student at Anne Arundel, and the travel wasn't as bad. So I was like, okay, I can do this. I'm closer to my family. I can get better support. I can be there, around them without having to say much, but they just there. Their presence meant more to me than just talking to them, honestly. So I ended up emotionally, it was so bad for me that I just decided to quit school altogether. I didn't quit, but I just decided. I sat down with my mother and father and just told them I was taking a year off because I just couldn't find the balance, and I just didn't think school was worth it anymore, if we're going to be quite honest with me. Not even with me, sorry. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. But I'm being honest with myself because I don't say it out loud too much, but I took the step by just deciding to take it a whole year off. I took a whole entire year off, and during that year off, I learned to build a work ethic. I built a good rapport with my employers. I was in childcare. I had been in childcare before I even graduated high school because I was working summers at Parks and Rec. Shout out to Park and Rec. Whoever used to work there, they know. It was a simple little paycheck because all you had to do was be a big kid at work. But I ended up receiving a full-time job one summer while I was still looking for a full-time job, and I got it, and it blessed me because I learned stuff about myself I didn't even know. I had the confidence to really teach other people, and I didn't think I could do that, and I did that. I was still working in food service industry at the time as well, and I always love to cook. Anybody that knows me knows I stay cooking, whether I'm sad or mad or angry, or I just want to have a good time, or I just want to learn something new. I'm always in the kitchen. And at the time, I really just didn't separate a passion from a hobby during my entire schooling. And I realized, later in life that my passion was for cooking, and it was something that I could see myself doing every day, waking up and doing it regardless of how I felt. I would do it. And I went into working in restaurant industry as a hostess, as a server, eventually became a bartender. But I really sat and kind of observed more of the business side than actually doing the work of being it. But I was still doing the work because I just wanted to be in the area just so I could see what they were doing, how they were running it, what made their business their business. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, some of my managers, they were a choice. It was a choice. But I learned something from them regardless of how people thought that they were as a person. But I learned lessons, and I took it in my mind, and I kind of left it in the back burner for another time where I needed to put it into practice. And I even worked at a franchise restaurant. I worked at IHOP, and was like, okay, this is not what I want to do either. I don't want to run my business the way these people are running their business. I felt like sometimes they were doing stuff that I felt like was so unnecessary. I felt like it was so unethical. I felt like there was no morale into it. I feel like they didn't even take a second thought about doing the stuff that they were doing, and not even with their customers, just with their employees. And I was like, who do these people think they are? Who gave these people licenses to do this stuff? Who told them that this shit was alright? And why are people still working for them? Like, why was I even still working for them? So I decided when I decided to go off my year break, I decided to go into business management as my degree choice, because I want to be able to learn how to do this stuff right. I want to know how to put my twist on it while still being in the criteria of being a good manager, being a good supervisor, being a good owner, as well as being financially literate and business literate. You have to have a business savvy when you go into wanting a business. You have to go in things a certain kind of way. As I feel like, as long as you're going in the rules and you're staying within the rules, whatever twist you want to put it on, as long as they're in the rules, you can do that. And I feel like they weren't doing it the right way. So business management is my calling for career, but food will always be my passion, because eventually I do want to own a restaurant. But now that I've gotten deeper into doing this podcast, I didn't realize how much I like doing this. So I probably would turn tending to the garden into a full-blown business, like a air show, like a show on air. Like I've never thought of doing that before. I never thought about going to radio or podcast before ever in life. But sometimes these things just don't find themselves on purpose. This didn't just fall into my lap because I feel like God gave me a purpose to do something with this voice. I've kept it hidden for so long, so I might as well put it into practice now. So here we are, and I'm really excited for what this is doing for me. I'm excited for what is gonna be in the future. I'm excited for the support. I'm excited to hear from you all. I will leave my social media platforms in the description box. I will leave my Instagram. I haven't made a Twitter yet. I'm just relying on Instagram in my Buzzsprout profile for these episodes. Eventually, I'll probably get them onto Google Podcasts. Actually, it's not even eventually. It is going to Google Podcasts. It is going to Spotify. It is going to Apple Podcasts. As many things as I can get this published on, I will make sure that y'all will have a way to listen. If y'all know anybody that has a business that is thriving and growing, and you can see the potential of it growing to an exponential amount of time of work, I want to talk to them. I want to talk to anybody that got something to say. And I want to just thank you in the future for listening, for wanting to be a part of this. If y'all want to tend to it, I want y'all to sow the seed by letting me know who's around in the DMV. Even if they're not in the DMV, I want to reach out. Excuse me. I want to reach out to people further than the DMV eventually, but I want to start with home, because home is where the heart is, of course. You know, I'm super excited. I don't even know how to describe it in words. Like, my cheeks honestly hurt from smiling so much, thinking about the things that could really happen with this. I want to thank y'all. I want to take the time out to really thank you guys. I'm at a different place in my life where I can honestly say I want to hear any and everything, regardless if I agree with it or not. I know that it'll be in the best interest of the public, especially the DMV public. I know that there's more out there, and I know that we can get more out there, and I know that more will be started. So I want to hear from y'all. I want to hear from these people. And next episode, our topic will be about Black dollar circulation and social media, and how we can get the dollar out there more by using these platforms, and how these platforms will make us stronger in our numbers. Because I've seen so many just on Instagram alone. I can only imagine what other platforms these are on. And I will probably be dropping in gems, resources as well, not just from, how-tos. I'll tell you where I got this stuff from. Like, this is not plagiarized. Oh, no. school has taught me enough. You know, if I didn't do good, I learned something. You do not plagiarize your work. I never plagiarized them, but I wanted to. I'm not gonna hold y'all. I wanted to. But anyway, I hope to hear from y'all, and I hope to see these numbers grow in the next podcast. And I want y'all to have a good day. I want y'all to be blessed. I want y'all to be black, and I want y'all to stay black. All right, peace and love.